Good day, fish tankers. Have you ever come home after a hard day's work and find your favorite fish on the floor, bone dry and dead as a doornail? Most of us have, and it's not a pleasant feeling. What can we do to stop that from happening? Well, I just put lids on my aquarium. You can see here I've cut them out of 4mm glass with some space left for electrical wires and airline tubing and filters. But even then I had a clownfish jumping out of that small gap there at the back in the corner of a tank. But what if you want a rimless tank with an open top with a hardscape and the plants growing out of it? What do you do then to prevent fish from ending up on the floor? Stick around and find out. The first thing we must do, we mustn't startle the fish, because fish jump when they are frightened. So don't put the aquarium at a place where people are going to be walking around close by to the aquarium all the time. And the lights, dim the lights to put them off and ramp them up slowly to put them on, so it doesn't go from bright light to pitch dark and vice versa. That will frighten the fish. So if you don't have a light that can ramp on and off, make sure that the room lights are on, and then you turn off your aquarium lights. And then you give it a little while, and then you switch off the room light, and you reverse the process in the morning when you're switching on the lights. Then look at your fish compatibility. Small fish often jump out when they're frightened of something, so don't mix them with predatory fish like this pike cichlid or the lulupai that you see here, because they chase the small fish because they will eat them and the fish jump out. Another thing is you can lower the water level, works well in a paludarium, otherwise 5 centimeters, 2 inches would be ideal, or anything that you can do. Although I do understand that a lot of people don't like this look, I don't like this look either. Another thing that you can do is use floating plants. Now that provides a sort of a natural lid, and the theory is at least that helps the fish to distinguish between where the surface is and where the water column is. Now you can also use bigger tanks. If, for example, you put an adult Siamese algae eater in the 60p, it's much more likely to jump out here than it would at the bigger 120p that you just seen in the previous clip, because fish don't like to feel claustrophobic and they are liable to jump. I've once taken out fish when I had to break down a tank, put them in a shallow bucket, and fish were all over the place in seconds. Then you can avoid jumpers altogether if you're going to have an open top tank. Killifish are big jumpers, so if you're not going to have a tight fitting lid on the tank, just avoid them altogether. In nature, these killifish occur in puddles, seasonal puddles, many of them at least. So when the water goes down, they start jumping to find another puddle. Sort of a high-risk maneuver, but that's their natural behavior. This rocket killie as well will jump out of a tank eventually if you don't have a lid there. And another thing that you see with this rocket killie fish is they like to be close to the surface of the water. They're top swimmers as well. Which brings me to my next point. Avoid the top swimmers, these fish that dwell right on the surface of the water, like these penguin tetras, because they are much more liable to jump out of an aquarium. So if a fish is right there at the top of the water all the time, some of them are even adapted to jump like these hatchet fish. They'll also jump out. They've got those big chest muscles so that they can fly out of the water. Then mud skippers. This sounds a bit odd because you put them in tanks that's half land and half water, but those pectoral fins of the mud skippers sort of form suction cups, and I have seen them climb straight out of the water on this glass wall, out of a tank, and there you see them going on the mat. So mud skippers will also need a tight fitting lid, otherwise they will go bye-bye quickly. Guys, tell me in the comment section, which fish have you found to be jumpers? And tell us if you have any ideas that I may not have about how to prevent fish from jumping out of an open top rimless tank with no lid on it. The next one are eels. I couldn't find footage of eels, but it also includes any elongated eel-like fish like these bikers. They will jump as well as these rope fish. They slide out of a tank like a snake, even through the smallest nook and cranny. They'll find their way out of it. So if you're going to keep these fish like the bikers, the rope fish, or you have a big tire track eel or something like that in your aquarium, you're going to have a lid, and you're even going to have to look at making the spaces where the cables go in or the airline go in, if that is applicable in your case, to make them as small as possible, because these fish will always find a way to get themselves out of an aquarium. And now for the monster fish keepers, you'll know already, arowanas jump. So you got to find a way to put a cover on that tank and the space between the cover and the surface, because they might injure themselves. And bettas, this was my favorite betta. And how did I lose this boy? Jumped out of a small gap in the lid where the airline tubing came in, and he was gone. And the short, not only the short finned ones, but the long finned ones like these, they will also jump. Believe you me, I even lost one with fins like that because of it. Corridoras are bottom dwelling little catfish, and lo and behold, they also jump, because what they do is they go up to the surface every now and then to take a gulp of air. It's normal behavior, but if they do it right to the side of a tank, they find themselves falling out or going over the edge. And then sawtails. These livebearers are notorious jumpers, and I remember that because I had one as a kid and came home from school and he was out of a tank and bone dry. So sawtails will also require a lid on that aquarium. Another idea is simply to keep fish that won't jump, like fancy goldfish. Fish that are heavy bodied, that are round bodied, in my experience, tend not to jump. I'm not saying they'll never jump, but I can tell you in my decades of fish keeping, I've never found any of them to jump out of an aquarium. Another fish that don't jump, or group of fish, are puffers. Pea puffers, even to your bigger puffers. I have not found them to be jumping out of an aquarium. Never found the puffer to be a jumper. Now, some of you may have had different experiences. I'm just saying that's what my experience was. Even these figure 8 puffers, the spotted puffers, I've kept them before in the shop environment without any lids on. Ditto for this big spotted puffer, and they have never jumped, you know, as long as you maybe don't keep the water right to the edge of a glass. Then plecos, I've also never found them to jump. If you give them some hiding spaces like some wood, they sit there. We don't find the others in planted tanks, but ottocinklers we do, and they I've also never found to be jumpers. And then mid-water swimmers, like these neon tetras. They don't swim on the surface, they don't go rapidly up and down mostly. I've never found neon tetras to jump. And the same for cardinal tetras, never found them to be jumpers either, so will be good choices for these open top rimless planted aquariums. And most of the tetras with the black neons, they don't jump either. And most of these fish that swim in the mid-water I have found are not big jumpers. Here we see the black neons, an ideal choice for open top rimless tanks. I don't find them to be big jumpers. Well, that's it from me, fish tankers. Please remember to subscribe, and until I see you again, take good care of those domestic denizens of the deep.